Can you say your name and your age and what NFL teams you play for?
My name is Tashi Williams. My age is 43, and I played for 4 different teams over the course of 4 years. So that was from 96 through 2001. So I played for the New Orleans Saints. I played for the Seattle Seahawks, Denver Broncos, and the Berlin Thunder.
Okay. And throughout your NFL experience, I know you've been around big-time names. Tell us some big-time people you've played with.
John Elway. Played against Steve Young. Played against John Randall. Played against Kurt Warner. Eddie McCaffrey. Terrell Davis. Ricky Williams. There's a bunch. A whole bunch to name. So.
Okay, so being around all those big-time players and being in the NFL in general, did you ever experience favoritism or, experience somebody else who had favoritism, like when it comes to breaking the law?
Myself, personally, I don't know if I experienced it. I would say, because at that time I had never done anything worse than like a speeding ticket or a potential speeding ticket. And I remember there was one time, I should have been charged with a speeding ticket when I was heading from Colorado to Maryland driving, and I got pulled over, and I just wound up speaking with the police officer in the car for about 15 minutes. We were just talking about football. So did I experience favoritism? I would think so. But as far as breaking the law big time, I remember experience when I was playing, or around the time that I was playing, there was a defensive lineman. I think he played for St. Louis at the time. His last name was Little, and I can't remember his first name at this point. But just seeing what happened, he had gotten into a drunk driving accident. Someone was actually killed, and if I'm not mistaken, he was playing the next year. So, especially at that time, I think that I think there's a bigger eye on professional sports. This, in the age that we live in now, talking about almost 20 years removed. But I think there was at a time where the favoritism was pretty prevalent.
Something like that, and because the public loves, professional athletes, and they love football. Football's America's game, and do you think that they, sweep it under the rug so that they can, continue to play, so that the business is still, working?
Right. I think it happens on a lot of different stages in regards to like your fans. Obviously your fans don't want to see, their best player or, their top, receiver or quarterback or anything like that. They don't want to see them get in any trouble because then they can't play, right? And so then that's a bummer, for your fans. More so in a business sense, to where these people are provided great lawyers sometimes by the team, is because these are their money makers, and then obviously the people who in the front office, these owners, these GMs, they don't want to look like fools because they wasted money on draft picks and now this person is getting in trouble. So, I think in cases, they're going to try to find whatever they have to do to win football games. And at the end of the day, as a business, because that's what you're paid for. That's what all of this is about. All of this is about winning as many games as possible. All this is about getting to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So things are a lot of people are going to turn the other way.
You sign a personal conduct policy before. Is it every team or just the NFL in general?
It's the NFL in general, and I think if I can remember correctly, I think it's just like a blanket type thing. It's like everybody signs the same thing. I don't know if one team is more like weighs heavily on one kind of crime or personal behaviors than another. I think that it's just like a basic standard, contract.
Okay, and domestic violence is one of the top crimes committed by NFL athletes or just athletes in general. What did it say in that personal conduct policy about domestic violence and what happens if you commit that crime?
When I was playing, there was none. There was none. There was, if I can remember correctly, there was nothing directly stated in regards to domestic violence, and that was, I signed my last contract in 2001, and there was nothing that I can remember that was directly related to domestic violence.
Yeah, and so recently they have put a domestic violence clause in there, after the Ray Rice.
Right. Absolutely.
Do you think that athletes think they're, big time athletes think, they're invincible maybe in a sense because of who they are and they know that they can...
Yeah, I mean, and that starts, you figure, some of these athletes that you're dealing with, they've been a big deal since they've been 12, 13 years old.
Right.
Some of these kids are prodigies, right? So, you've been told that you're great and that you're going to be great, since the time you were 10, 11, 12 years old. And so, people look at you a different way. The general public looks at you a different way. You get away with more. Your expectations are to be an amazing football player. Your expectations aren't to be a great student necessarily or a great person necessarily. Your expectations are to be a great football player. So when you're built up like that, you start to think that, well, shoot, I have all this love. I can do whatever I want to. I didn't have to get great grades in school. I didn't have to talk to people sometimes the way that I'm supposed to talk to people. It's easy to fall into that and thinking that you're better or that you're more important than what you are, which is, at the end of the day, you're an athlete,
Being, some type of role model, kids look up to you guys, think you want, they want to be like you. And do you think these behaviors that that the NFL is allowing and that the criminal justice system isn't upholding, and do you think that will make young kids and young athletes think that when they make it, they're kind of like I said, invincible?
I mean, why not? You see it, you hear about it, people are charged. Some people are even convicted, and then they're playing the following year. So, I mean, could it happen? Absolutely. So they don't look at it from the bigger scheme of things, which is that I have millions of people watching me, and so, I mean, I need to hold
personal life and
personally and professionally, right. Because, I mean, you said, before, something happens, like the layperson, gets in a fight, smacks somebody, smacks their wife. Unfortunately, nobody knows about that. That person can go back to work usually the next day because it's not in the newspaper. It's not posted, it's not on ESPN or TMZ. So that person can continue to work. And like I said, even if you're charged with something, even if you're convicted of something, I mean, it's just considered an assault. So these people aren't going to do any jail time, maybe possible probation, pay a fine. So people don't know about this. But when everyone is looking at you, like every move you make, and like I said, these young athletes or these older athletes, they're not going into it, it's not even like an impulsive behavior. It's just like they're going into it. It's like, I'm just living my life. But you're living your life and everybody's watching you.
Okay, and last question, just a simple question, I guess. Do you believe that professional athletes get off easy compared to the general public?
Absolutely.
In the NFL, the league itself, and in the criminal justice system?
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you. You're a lovely young lady.